chose a broken road. Maybe you're the girl thinking you'll end up alone. Praying, God, can you hear me? Oh God, are you listening? Am I more than flesh and bone? Am I really something beautiful? Yeah, I wanna believe that I'm not just some wandering soul that you don't see and you don't know. Yeah, I wanna believe. Jesus, help me believe that
Well, welcome, everybody. Glad that you could join us here today. Welcome to Maverick Live, Becoming Aligned, courageously fulfilling the life and work you are uniquely made for. It's good to be with you today. I see Carrie Ann online. Thank you for dropping a comment that you're live. And Johannika, thank you for dropping your comment. And for those that are joining us still, please, if you're watching live, please comment live. And if you're watching the replay, comment replay. And let us know where you're logging in from. So today's title for my live stream is called Becoming Aligned is a Calling. Last week, we laid a foundation for understanding what alignment really is, what it means. And today I wanted to take it a step further. First, we talk about how misalignment is the root of much of our pain in our health, our wealth, our relationships. And it's last week we talked about how God designed us. I'm going to touch a little bit more on that today in a unique way. And when we start to understand that and live into that, it produces clarity in us. And as we become clearer with that, we can become more aligned with Him, but also more aligned with ourselves internally and with others horizontally. So this week, we're going to go deeper. Alignment, I speak extensively about it, but it's not my brand. My brand is about being uniquely me, as I'm encouraging everybody to be uniquely you. And this isn't just about optics. It's about living fully your design. And it's not about performance either. When we truly live alignment as a calling, we stop drifting in our lives and everything starts to just fit and feel better. Paula, I hear you, or I see your comment. So thank you for letting us know that you're online. So if you're anything like me, you know the ache of misalignment. Most of you know my story. I've posted and written about it extensively. I was running hard. I did for nearly 30 years. Big career, developed wealth, built teams, led teams, both in the Navy and as a civilian on a Navy program. I had the family, I had the house, I had the cars. I had all the success on paper. But inside, I was drifting. And that drift nearly killed me. My health collapsed. I was severely overweight. Had a lot of, started having a lot of health problems, both with blood sugar, with high blood pressure. And ultimately, I ignored all of it, and it put me in the hospital. And then shortly after that, my 28-year marriage collapsed. And that's what misalignment does. And it's what happens if you continue to be misaligned and you just ignore all the warning signs. And over time, the body gives up. And I believe that God put me on my knees in order to give me an awakening. Misalignment disconnects us from God, from ourselves, and from the people we love most. Solomon writes in Proverbs 14:12, there is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. So when we start choosing things that is right for us but we're not fully aligned, it takes us down a very dark path. And that's what it did with me. And then there are those that may not have had the health scare that I had, or even a marriage or a relationship that fell apart. And I get asked all the time, Jeff, how can life look so good on the outside, but still feel so off on the inside? And I can point to what happened to me after that collapse that I had back in 2017 and 2018. And for the 5 years, as I started to realign with God and internally with myself, surely my career turned around. On paper, I was in the best shape of my life, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually, but I still felt like I was missing something. I wasn't fully aligned with who God created me to be. And that's because alignment isn't complete until we're living out our full unique gifts and the purpose that God laid out in our life. So we can be doing all the right things, but if we're still not using the gifts that He gave us and put us into purpose and using those gifts for His purpose, we're still not going to feel fully aligned. I'll share a story from a beautiful young woman that I have been working with and supporting and have come to know very well over the last several months. That is just brilliant, a genius. She's got degrees in biology, both an undergrad and a master's degree in that area. And so very intelligent. She's creative, highly sensitive, very loving. But because she wasn't fully aligned with who God created her to be, both aligned with Him vertically, but also what her purpose was, she was still chasing things and not feeling right, chasing an experience and not chasing God, chasing what the world tells us we should be chasing rather than aligning herself with Him and with who she was. And I'm so thankful now as I get updates from her on a near daily basis on the beautiful growth that she's doing every day, now that she is starting to align with God, starting to align with the gifts that He's given her. And now He's starting to show her who she truly is, to start living a life that is more aligned with who she is and also the purpose that He laid out for her. That reminds me of what God said to Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And I want to stress this, that there are a lot in the prosperity gospel movement that uses this passage for prosperity financially. But I want to stress that prosperity is about alignment. It's about being fully aligned with God, being fully aligned with who He created us to be. And that's where the harm goes away, where peace starts to come in, and where He's got plans for our hope, both on this earth, but also eternally. That's what alignment does to you. And that's what happens when you really start to surrender to what He created you to be. So you might ask, where do you start? My response is often, pretty simply, be obedient to who God created you to be. Of course, that's easier said than done. It took me 48 years to even begin that journey, because our obedience to our design is where fear starts to show up. When we start leaning into who we were really created to be, it's scary because it sets us apart from everybody else. And oftentimes, the way that we've been treated our whole life is often a projection of the way other people want, the way other people's design is, and they tend to put that conditioning on us, that projection on us. And because we don't want to be rejected, we start acting in a different way. So I decided to talk about this a little bit today because I was on my run yesterday and I was listening to a motivational video. And I heard a quote from a very famous movie, a popular movie. And the quote is, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to suffering. And I think that that is a very powerful statement. And Master Yoda, as he was speaking to young Anakin Skywalker, is not wrong in this case, because Anakin had an anger problem, or that was one way that his fears manifested itself. But I'd like to stress, or even replace the word anger. Fear leads to misalignment, and misalignment leads to hate. And what we see with anger is actually a symptom of the underlying misalignment. So those are symptoms: anger, bitterness, frustration. Those are all signs of an underlying misalignment. So when we start feeling these things or seeing these things, we should check it in with ourselves. What does this mean? How am I misaligned with the way I was created? So fear of being rejected often causes us to start performing. We start doing things that is not aligned with who we are. And actually that creates other challenges for us. And people can feel this. Fear of being attacked often keeps us silent. Fear of speaking truth keeps us silent. Fear of failure often causes us to not take a step forward into truth, into what we genuinely want to be able to do in life. And ultimately, these fears keep us hidden. They keep us behind our shield, behind our armor. We're armored up. And that's ultimately what leads to collapse, is as we armor up with these fears, the armor builds and builds and builds, and it gets too heavy and we collapse. And that's what happened to me nearly 8 years ago. So that fear, and I'll reiterate again, it shows up differently in every one of us. Anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment, or it could be a mix of all of them. And oftentimes it is a mix with all, because we are not, our personality tends to favor one or more of these, but generally we do feel all of them. And I reflected all of those signs of misalignment back in 2017. In fact, I think most people would say, I was told oftentimes that I was just an angry man. And it was the armor, and it was my reaction to the fear of those things that I read out to you. And I know what it's like to fear misusing my voice. And I'll speak a little bit to what my fears are. Those that know me know that I speak truth, but it's not easy, because I know when I speak it, I'm a target. And for many, many years, when I speak, a person's their own trauma, their own fears, their own projection lands on me. And I tend to be highly sensitive. So when that lands on me, it hurts. And I don't like that pain. So I shrink. And a lot of us do that. I also have a fear of misusing my voice. What if I hurt somebody else, even if it's truth? And this is why scripture has been so powerful for me in the last 6, 7 years, because Paul writes, Jesus speaks about speaking the truth in love. So it has caused me to put a lot of effort into how I use my words. So not only can I be precise, but I can also deliver it in a kind and loving way. So I can still speak truth that keeps me in alignment, but I can also help share with another person how they may be impacting me. And this is the biggest thing for alignment, is all of us speaking truth and all of us sharing what is most important to us. And we do it with love. We do it in a way that is as caring and compassionate as possible, but we should not withhold it, because when we hold truths, oftentimes it actually causes more trauma and misalignment within ourselves. So it was a struggle that I had, and I think it was one of the biggest things that led to my collapse in 2017. I was selected about a year, 18 months ahead of then, to head up a large multi-program effort for the Department of the Navy. And I knew what was right in the direction we were going, but I was getting a lot of pushback on the way we were going, and a lot of projection on it. And rather than me processing through how I felt and sharing it and conveying those challenges to the people that I worked with and for, I kept it inside. And then at some point, you keep it inside so long you can't hold it any longer. And then it spills out. And it spills out emotionally. It spills out with anger, with pain, and it spills out with venom. And that is often what happens, especially with men who haven't dealt with that pain, that emotion, that when men spill out, they spill out with this emotion in an anger way. And it's also what I believe that leads to a lot of how men treat women when it comes to beating, rape. That's one way men do it. And another way they do it is that they won't speak. They'll completely shut down. It's the passive way and the active way, but they're both from the same underlying fear and the same underlying pain and trauma. But I found as I began my alignment journey, God was clear with me. So in 2017, I went through that pain. I actually shrunk because I got aligned with him. But as I got aligned with him, he started to show me, no, I gave you these gifts. This is what I expect you to do with them. And as I slowly started to bring them back out into the world, I was convicted, and the Holy Spirit within me giving me the words that I needed, and often convicting me if I started to spill out or started to come out with some form of anger, that to convict me, to soften my tone, to speak the truth in love. And that's what this is all about. It's the self-help community tends to overdo this. If somebody is gifted with speech, or if somebody is gifted with creativity, they encourage people to go all in on their creativity and their speech, but they don't address their underlying fears or their underlying trauma related to those gifts. And there's a shadow with every gift. And if you don't address the shadow, you can't bring the gift out in its full power. And oftentimes the gift is going to hurt other people. So I knew the gifts. I ran from them for several years in that 2015 to 20 timeframe. And then as I started to realize, no, I gave them to you. Now you use them ultimately for my glory, to help others see their gifts, but also sharpen them in a way that they can be used in order to benefit all other people and not to hurt people. And the same is true for you. And some of you that have worked with me know that I call this the 0.1% effect. I spoke with this briefly on Thursday with Lisa, that all of us have 99.9% the same DNA. But it's that 0.1% difference is where all of our gifts are. It's where our purpose is. And it's also where our conditioning, our trauma, and our shadow is. But when we start to recognize what sets us apart differently from other people, and not just the superficial, it's the superficial that people tend to attack, but the gift that you're given, the gift that only you can bring into the world, the gift that leads to the purpose that God created you for, that part of your DNA no one else carries. And it's the fingerprint of God's design in your life. It's what carries both your gifts and your purpose. Paul writes to Timothy in 2 Timothy 1:7, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And that verse speaks so much to me because of the inherent power that I have, but also I've had to learn the energy that I have to have self-control with it and to bring it with love. So I'd like just to, if everybody could just think for a few minutes, what alignment would look like for you. It's not a perfect image. It's about becoming the person that God uniquely created you to be. It's obedience to your unique design. The gifts and purpose hidden in your 0.1% effect. For me, that means stepping onto stages like this, speaking truth, inspiring courage, connection, and unconditional love, and guiding others like those watching today and even on the replay into clarity. into helping you find what your gift is, your shadows are. Sharpen those gifts and get those shadows out in front of you so we're not hurting other people with them. For you, it might mean leading your family differently, building something you've been afraid to start, serving in the community. I'm looking at those that are online right now. I know the careers and the gifts that some of you have. I've spoken to most of you, and you're powerful people, and you have very unique gifts that the world wants to see, that God wants you to reveal to the world. The point is, alignment isn't about branding. It's not about marketing. It's not about polish. It's not about being liked. It's about obedience to the one who made you and living the gifts and purpose that he placed in that 0.1% difference in your DNA. Paul also writes in his letter to Rome, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And that's what we can become when we start this alignment with him vertically, us internally, and then with others horizontally. So I've got plenty of time online. I try to set this to be in the 30 to 45 minute range. For those that are with us today, please, if you got questions or comments you'd like me to talk about, I'm happy to address them. I also, while I'm looking at those and for any questions, I do see your note here, Johannika, still feels difficult. I guess I can't see all of the gifts yet. And yes, and I appreciate your transparency and your vulnerability here. Yes, you're recovering, and it's mainly about surrendering. It really does come down to surrendering. It's about surrendering. It's about recognizing who you are. And for those that have accepted Jesus, whose you are. And I have to remind myself of that every day, because that's where our power comes from. That's where the strength comes from. And that's where the light comes from. The light that he'll put in us, but it's also the light on who we are. So to recognize the gifts and how to use them ultimately for his glory. So I'll close, barring any further questions. If this stirred something in you, don't walk away from it. You're not alone. Every single human being on this planet struggles with what I'm talking about. The difference is that some are more willing to share it or to recognize it and to do something about it, and others just continue to armor up. And I'm speaking firsthand experience. For 48 years, I armored up. And it doesn't end well if we keep doing that. But it's when we start recognizing these things and start asking ourselves, what would it look like if? How might my life change? And I like everybody to remember, you're not alone, you're not broken, and you're made for alignment, for clarity, and for courage. And let me leave with a few other questions. If you're not sure what those gifts are, please drop a note, drop a comment, or you can reach out to me separately via DM or at my website, and I'll give you that contact information here shortly. But here's a few questions to wrestle with as I wrap up. First is, where have you felt the ache of misalignment most? Is it in your health, your relationships, or your work? Different parts of your life, it might impact different areas. For me, it all converged right in midlife as I was hitting between 48 and 50 years old. Second question, what would it cost you to obey God and fully lean into your gifts and callings? What would it cost really compared to where you're at today? And third question, what fear has been keeping you from stepping into the 0.1% difference that he placed in you? What fear do you have? And what's preventing you from taking this next step? And if you're ready to begin walking this out or to help answer those questions, I'm here to support you in any way that I can. To learn more about me, you can visit my website directly at jssimpson.com. Alternatively, if you want to check out, and by the way, on my website, you can see my services, my offers, and other ways to contact me and connect with me besides just here on my social platforms. Secondly, you can dive deeper into intimacy as I'm writing a book that I call Maverick Intimacy. I decided to release a field guide on intimacy that lasts. So if you want to dive a little deeper into how alignment restores intimacy, you can explore that at maverickintimacy.com. Thirdly, you can join me on my lives here on Mondays or on Thursdays. I live stream with my friend Lisa on Thursdays. And I also have a planned event with Lisa coming up on September 13th. And you can join me and her live for a spirit-led session where we'll walk this out together. Lisa will talk a little bit about her path from brokenness to wholeness, and I will share a little bit about mine, and then we're going to do a live stream like we do on our Thursday events right there in live from the conference room that we have reserved in Waldorf, Maryland. But if you can't join us in person, you can sign up for the live stream as well. And I also ask everybody to if this is providing you any value, helping in any way, I would ask that you share, and subscribe to this live stream or the replay so you get notified of this when I go live on Mondays and Thursdays. You can do the same on Thursdays that I have with Lisa. And please share, and comment on any posts or content that I write in support of this mission, because this is really about a movement. And I am so passionate for this because of what I've been through and what I've learned on this journey, that I believe that God has put this on my heart to really help others see who they are and see what gifts they can bring to the world. And this is my calling. This is my purpose. And I do believe that the same God that carried me through misalignment and continues to carry me through my alignment journey with him and with my purpose, I'm not there yet, but he can work with you too, and he can help you get realigned as well. And he can also help you recognize alignment through the gifts and purpose that he wired into your 0.1% effect. So I thank you for joining me today. I welcome you to this live session, and I ask you to continue to support me on this journey, and I'm looking forward to continuing to support you. And let's walk this out together as a Maverick community. Everybody have a great day.
Be the man struggling to provide, feeling like it's hopeless. Maybe you're the son who chose a broken road. Maybe you're the girl thinking you'll end up alone, praying, God, can you hear me? Oh God, are you listening? Am I more than flesh and bone? Am I really something beautiful? Yeah, I wanna believe that I'm not just someone dream soul that you don't see and you don't know. Yeah, I wanna believe. Jesus, help me believe.